I moved my computer's in a different place.
Hello, poetry lovers. We moved around. It's Mazzy here, and welcome. This
Beatle
is
Boys.
another. Pardon me.
The Beatle Boys.
The Beatle Boys. The Beatle. Yeah, David Bacon, Norman Maslov, co-authors of the way old, ancient Beatles England book, and the inventors of Beatle tourism. If you don't know that, figure it out.
Buy the book.
Yes, buy the book. We're going to do another one of these. The things, when I bring David in, we just do our Beatle shit because that's what we're about. We met in junior high school, and we became friends because we realized we're both obsessed. But obviously, you all know I don't do just a Beatle channel. I've had a couple people wanting to do one of these with Beatle things, and I actually turned someone down the other day from doing a joint Beatle thing. I said, I'm just saving my Beatle stuff to work with David.
You can do a Zoom with like 6 different.
Yes, we can, but I don't want to cheat on you, Bacon, Mr. Bacon. So what we're doing today, we're doing, again, we did a solo thing before, but what we're doing is we're each picking, and we did not tell each other what we chose, 2 solo albums from each Beatle. What we think is the best and the worst solo album of each Beatle. Now, of course, it's always subjective, and it's what we feel right now in this day. And I think since I pulled these, and I actually pulled the records yesterday, but I thought about them the last week, I've changed my mind several times. And again, none of this is definitive. People are gonna bitch about it, but hey, this is our opinion, so fuck it.
Yeah, I changed my mind a lot of times in preparing for this. I said, oh, that's the best, that's the worst, and
yeah,
right here and now, this is what I think.
Yeah, and we'll see if any of these match. And some seem to be obvious choices. One in particular to me is an obvious choice. I had to go with it, but we'll see how that goes. And then at the end, we're going to do a bonus pick of a family artist. A family means either Julian, Sean, Linda, Yoko, Mike.
Spouse, parent, child.
Yeah, relative of the Beatles in the Beatle family. Now, we didn't say if it had to be related or in the overall Beatle family.
Depends how you define family.
Yeah, well.
21st century, right?
Okay. New modern family, as they say. Okay, so David is going to start. And again, the best, we're going to go John, Paul, George, Ringo, and then family member. And the family member is just going to be a one pick, not a best and worst there. At least I didn't do that. I just picked one I kind of like a lot right now. So David's starting.
Okay, we're gonna start with John. John's best album. There's really only 2 choices, and you have to go with one. I went with Plastic Ono Band. Okay, his first. Oh, yeah, there's right.
So we can talk back and forth about it. Go ahead.
The other possibility was Imagine, I think. But this record for me, talking John Lennon solo, this is British copy. Mine's a British copy too. This is raw John Lennon. There's not a bad track on it. The emotional impact, his singing is great. His guitar playing is great. It is a perfect album. And almost 50 years later, it is still a perfect album.
Yeah, it's a great minimal album. I mean, I love how tight it is in terms of recording. It's not overproduced, and it's actually what's really surprising is
Phil Spector, right?
Phil Spector produced it, or with maybe John pushing him, but it doesn't have that spectrization that everything else pretty much that he has put on with that. I love it that it's almost like his punk record. It's almost the only Beatle or one of the few Beatle punk-like records in 1970, 70, 71 here. It's just great. John was going through his Arthur Janov primal scream period, heroin, junkie stuff with Yoko. It is a great record.
And I think you need to give a shout out to Ringo on this album, who is the drummer, and the drumming on this. And in fact, Ringo and Klaus Forman.
Klaus Forman.
Rhythm section. hold the album together in a lot
Right?
of so perfect album. I think Rolling Stone in their review of this album, I think said something to the effect of John laid his balls on the tracks, and out of sheer respect, the train ground to a halt.
Well, he should have called it "Balls on the Tracks," and then
Also,
it would have hold,
Dylan already
been
used.
blood on the tracks.
Great album.
Okay, so we're 1-for-1, or basically we matched John Lennon's the best of the
Great
John
minds
Lennon
think
record.
alike. Now his worst album, he doesn't have any bad albums. He doesn't have any. But the one that I picked is Rock and Roll Music. See?
We did not plan this.
We've known each other too long, right?
Yeah.
This album, right? This is what a great idea, right? John Lennon singing his favorite stuff from the 50s. But John was not in a good place when this album.
It was Phil Spector.
It was, speaking of Phil Spector, Phil Spector, it was under control for Plastic Ono Band. This album, the sessions were, well, it was the Lost Honeymoon up in LA with Harry Nilsson and Ringo. Everybody was
Keep going.
Everybody was drunk and on coke the whole time. Phil Spector was producing this. John Lennon turned it over to him and said, "Here, I'll just be the vocalist. You produce it." And Phil Spector with nuts apparently shot off a gun in the studio, and then disappeared with the tapes. That's the Spector version. John eventually got the tapes back. He was back in New York, finished the album. The arrangements to me just, it don't work.
The arrangements are terrible.
Great try. Like the version of Stand By Me.
Stand By Me is the greatest thing on there. It sounds great.
Version of that song. But that's
To know you is to love you. Oh, come on. That horrible version of that. Slip sliding. Yeah.
Paul's two oldies albums were a whole lot better.
Bad sounding record. It sounds, it's too, Spector stuff works. I like Spector stuff. In fact, I like it on All Things Must Pass, despite all the bitchingness now about it. People revisiting it 50 years later and thinking, we need to strip that down. I like that. But I think the sound in this record is terrible. Yeah, it's not a good listen. Doesn't flow well at all. And, right?
His vocals are, it should be a great record. John Lennon.
The best part of this record is Jürgen Vollmer's photograph used on the cover. The cover is brilliant, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that great?
Does everybody know that those blurred images are the other Beatles?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Tell them.
Those are the other Beatles.
Those are the other Beatles.
In Hamburg in 1961 or something like that.
I thought wasn't it Liverpool? No, is it Hamburg?
Oh, it's Hamburg. Jürgen Vollmer.
I used to know this. I don't remember.
We never went through that doorway, but it's in Hamburg.
Great.
It's an alleyway.
Yeah.
Off of the Reaper Pond.
Yeah, he took the thing. You want to say anything about this while we're at it?
That was, John Lennon was being sued for, what was he being sued for?
Come Together.
For Come Together.
Old Flap Top, He Come Moving Up Slowly, which he stole from a...
Out of court settlement, he said, "Well, I'll record some of the songs from your catalog."
Lyric from a Chuck Berry song. It's lyrics from a Chuck Berry song.
Sure. And the album got bogged down because Spector went crazy and stole the tapes. And so, as a good faith, he said, "Well, here's what I've done so far," and he gave the tape to the guy, and the guy put it out as a.
It was you buy it on TV, as seen on TV, and he sold it on TV. Then there was his cease and desist. Is that with Alan Klein? Maybe there's a big lawsuit and stuff. I have an original. This is probably a boot copy, but I have one of each. This one's sealed. I think this was a later boot thing, but
the whole project turned into just a big hassle for John. Too bad. The concept is a great concept.
Yep. All right, I'm going now. I'm going to start with Paul McCartney, the cute Beatle, the cute mop top. I'm going with Ram. I think this is a great record. This, was, I don't want to say it's controversial. It didn't get a lot of love immediately, although it sold pretty well because of Uncle Albert. but just the opening of this with too many people, this has turned out to be a great cult record. About 10 years ago, I downloaded, and I think I sent you a copy of it. There was a great cover version of this from a bunch of LA indie bands covering the entire Ram. And indie artists really fell in love with this, the whole indie thing of the last 20 years, rediscovered Ram, like the looseness of it. I even like Linda's vocals on this record. You know, I almost picked, I mean, the one that David and I always talk about is Wildlife. I think this is the better album, but I could see this in Wildlife as a good companion in a way. But I just, you know, the first McCartney is great in a way, but I think song for song, this is a great album. Too many people, and this was this is well recorded record too.
In New York for the most part.
It was recorded in New York, and it sounds really good. I mean, you know, Ram On, Dear Boy, Smile Away is a funky song. Heart of the Country, Monkberry Moon Delight.
Backseat of My Car. Backseat is one of my favorites.
I would say maybe Eat at Home and Long Haired Lady are the two weakest tracks, but they're still good. So I'm going with this for my best pick right now. I know everyone likes to do Band on the Run.
It's grown from, many people listed that as one of his worst albums to now considered, when the big box set came out 2 years ago, one of his all-time best.
Right.
In putting together this little clip, I struggled with what is my favorite McCartney album, because that was high in contention. You and I also love Wildlife. I listened to most of them. I went with Flaming Pie. I'm supposed to take this out.
Yeah, take it out of the reflective device.
Yes, Flaming Pie.
Okay.
You don't. I can tell by shaking your head you don't agree with me.
That's what, if I agreed with you, that would be my pick, Mr. Beacon. You ignorant slut.
I listened to this whole album again just yesterday. It's a great record. It's done in the late 90s. Paul was coming off the Beatle Anthology project when he did this. Jeff Lynne produced it, who produced the reunion songs.
He didn't over ELO it.
He did not over ELO it, this. Also, the other thing going on in Paul's life was Linda was dying. So, you know, she was, being treated for breast cancer.
Calico Skies is on that, right?
What?
Calico Skies is on that?
Calico Skies, and
that's a fucking great song.
Maureen Starkey was also dying too.
Yeah.
And there's a Little Willow, I think, is about her. But every song on here is a great song. Songs We Were Singing is about John and, the old days. There's a beautiful track called Beautiful Night. Big production with Ringo singing the coda. Ringo's a drummer on it.
Right.
I could have picked almost any Paul McCartney album, but this one.
Okay. I know the record.
We visited it recently, and it is really an outstanding album. I think Paul's later career, he's doing great.
Yeah.
I almost also picked Egypt Station as a great album, but anyway, I go with Flaming.
Which version out of the 16 versions? It's funny because a lot of people, everyone says, it's Band on the Run. I don't think Band on the Run has held up very well, except for the title track, maybe Jet. But Mamunia, give me a fucking break. And I like 1985. 1995.
Band on the Run's a great record, but I don't play it very often.
Yeah. Okay.
No, the worst.
The worst Paul McCartney record. Now, I had a record out. What did you think I pulled out first and I put back?
I had two that I was alternating between, and the one that I put back had more hits.
Yeah. Okay. At the same time, I want us to say the first word of the first one we pulled out and see if we match. Ready? On three. Can you do? You know what I'm asking you?
Yeah. Okay.
This isn't a trick question, Bacon.
I got it. One,
two.
Pipes apiece. Yeah. That was
a terrible record.
Yes. I hate it, but it's got a couple of tracks that aren't bad. It's got the Michael Jackson thing, say. The other song,
Paul, I'm a lover.
So Bad, I kind of like.
Actually, So Bad's a good song, and the opening song, what's the opening song about the war?
Oh,
No,
Pipes of Peace.
well, Pipes of Peace. That's a kind of a nice
Yeah,
song.
it's a flip side of Tug of War.
But hug for a tug or hug a tug. What a
Yeah.
piece of crap, McCartney.
So I bet I know what your second choice was.
Well, I'm going to show it right now.
Right, right.
For some reason, when this came out, I was expecting so much. Paul was primed and ready.
I know what you're gonna pick.
And he picked a new producer who was like the coolest guy who had been in San Francisco doing indie stuff for a while, and there was the hot shit. But is this one? You picked it too?
Yep.
People like this record, and I don't.
I hate this record.
I hate this record. I hate this record. Piece of shit. Piece of shit. Paul of shit.
And the cover is crap, right?
Freedom. Really? 9/11. That's
Freedom is an embarrassment. I mean, it's like, oh, shut up, Paul.
Yeah, like, Freedom was his song he wrote after 9/11, and I want to be free. I want to be free. Give me a fucking break, McCartney. I love you, Paul, but terrible record. And some people didn't like the cover. I remember he was going on all the TV shows with this little kind of camera phone before we all had camera phones. I kind of like the cover. I think I like the intimate artwork. It's got a lover from a friend, piece of shit. Freedom, piece of shit. I just think this is
it's the Heather Mills era, and
yeah, oh yeah, like there we go. Yeah,
can't stand this album. A lot of people like it, but
out of here. So we agree. God, we're doing pretty well. We know each other pretty well. Okay, we're going to move on to now George Harrison, the quiet Beatle, the mystic Beatle. Your turn.
My turn. Best album. There's only one choice. Come on. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's got to be
like Phil Spector's sound on this. I love it.
Right? This is, what I think? His best album of all the Beatles solo albums. It's the only one that has, what's the word I want to use? The gravitas to stand with the Beatle catalog. It is a perfect album.
Right?
Great cover, jam-packed with songs. The backlog that he was writing. And
not one bad track.
No, not one bad track.
Why did he?
I love the horns and the big production. I think it's. I hope they come up with a huge 5.1 surround mix of this album. I think that's going to be great with the 50th.
Prayer Park on Henley-on-Thames. That's his gardens. The remix version is terrible. That was it, the 30th whatever anniversary one.
Oh, the My Sweet Lord. Yeah, that's garbage. But
this, I even like the jam record. It's fun. It's funky. It was free technically. I mean, an extra thing.
Derek and the Dominos got together as a group as the backing band.
Bobby Whitlock and Nicky Hopkins.
Carl Rader, Jim Gordon.
Yeah. Now, I don't remember why. The one thing that always puzzled me about this record is why the two versions of
Isn't It a Pity?
Isn't It a Pity twice? They're not that different.
Yeah, I don't know. It works.
Yeah, but otherwise, I mean, it's amazing he opens up with that song that he co-wrote with Bob Dylan, right? I Have You Anytime. And he does If Not For You, covered a Dylan song. And I can't remember, did this come out the same year or just after New Morning came out?
It's the same year. Yeah.
Okay.
So the version of, New Morning, or not New Morning, of If Not For You, George Harrison was there when Dylan was putting it together. There's outtakes of George playing on Dylan's version. That came out that Christmas of 1970. The Beatles had broken up, and what a surprise that album was. First of all, this 3-record set in a box, and
number one.
Get all these great songs by George Harrison, which
My Sweet Lord
is getting 1 or 2 songs here and there, and then this flood of songs. And 50 years later, every track still stands out to me.
Pent Up Demand, George Harrison, we love you. Okay, now the worst.
The worst one. There are no really bad George albums. I am a huge George fan.
Are we going to go with the same one? And if there's a reason behind it, or not?
Want to go 1, 2, 3? Mine is for worst album is rather controversial.
Okay, I think we're going to disagree. So you go first.
Okay, I picked Cloud Nine.
Ooh,
I know.
I love that record.
As do I. It's a good record.
You're wrong, Mr. Bacon. You're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
You're fucking wrong. You're in blood.
I saw it. I was like, yeah, that was the other one. That was the other one.
You do yours. Go ahead.
This one, all right. Many people think it's his best album.
It's not his best, but it's a very good record.
It is a very good record. Sort of a comeback record. He hadn't recorded in 5 years when this was done. Jeff
Big
Lynne.
hit.
It was a big hit. It was the last time any Beatle had a #1 single. Was this, right? What's the song? Got My Mind Set on You was the last #1 of any Beatle.
And he didn't even write it.
And he didn't write it.
But look, the opening song with Eric Clapton on the guitar.
The slick sort of 80s production sound to it.
Yeah. I don't see that.
I almost never play it.
And that was one of the first records of the Beatles solo that was in the CD era, as I recall, right?
Correct, yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't think I bought an LP of it. I gave up LPs a long time ago.
Yeah, you did.
So, you know, this
is a vinyl channel, but that's okay.
I understand that.
I'm kidding, you know. I'm not kidding, but we show CDs. What are those little things?
Whatever floats your boat. But this one.
What are those little things behind you?
I like George Harrison's albums, and this is the one I play the least.
Okay.
So that's why I picked.
You're wrong on that one. That's okay. I'm showing this one, and thing is, I think all the songs on here are great. It's just that we all know George Harrison went through that year during the '74 tour when his voice was literally gone. They should have postponed the tour. He should have postponed this record till his voice came back. He sings Dark Horse with H-O-A-R-S-E. Is that how you spell it? The other horse. And his voice, although that's a great song, and it actually was a minor hit, somewhat of a hit. So Sad is a great song. Maya Love, Ding Dong, Ding Dong. I play it every year, New Year's, so it's a great end of year song. It's just his voice. The band sounds good.
I like the instrumental that opens the album, Harry's on Tour Express.
And that's the song they opened up when they played live.
He opened a show with that.
He did open the show with that. Great cover, you know, reminiscent of Sgt. Pepper in a way, but his schoolboy pick. There are rare versions of this. I don't know which one's rare. I don't know if you know this, but on the vinyl version, the first version had the Swami Miami thing really small. Then he wanted it larger. So when you pick this up, I don't know which one, if any of them are actually rare, but I have both versions, of course. There's a smaller version of that circle and a larger version of that circle. I love this. Well, Leo, let's say we promenade through the park. That's a quote from The Producers, the Mel Brooks film, and he's walking with Peter Sellers there.
In Frere Park.
In Frere Park. It is he, Jai Shri Krishna. Oh, Far East Man, I think was the song that he talks about. This song's for you, Frank Sinatra. He wanted Sinatra to record one of his songs. Bye Bye Love, strange, bizarre cover of the Everly Brothers song. You know,
with changed lyrics about Eric Clapton taking his wife, with Eric Clapton playing on the song.
That's right. That's right. You know, the thing is, this is his worst record, and I still love it.
Yeah.
Because it's just his voice. If his voice was great, come on.
Yeah. Oh,
Danny should take these tapes and re-record all the vocals. Just for shits and giggles.
That one B-side, I Don't Care Anymore from that. It's like, okay. John Paul George.
Sir Richard Starkey, MBE.
Your turn.
To me, there's an obvious choice here. The best album, and one of the best also Beatles solo records. I remember when they were recording in LA, I was listening with my buddies, San Francisco KSAN radio, the big Tom Donahue at night. It was a rainy night, and he was talking about this rumor of the Beatles getting back together in the studio in LA, and Tom Donahue was on the radio. In fact, I remember the moment I was in North Beach with, I don't know if you were, it probably wasn't you, Steve Bounds, a friend of mine, Steve, and Bennett, mutual friends of ours when we were in high school and college. And it was a rainy night. I was going to the Times Theater, and it was a theater on the edge, Stockton Street, the edge of Chinatown and North Beach, 99 cents for a double bill, and they changed it every night. Old films, double bill. I don't even know the movie, but they talked about the Beatle reunion. And of course, once it happened, we know they didn't all play together. There are one track or three of the Beatles are on. I'm the Greatest, I think.
Just the one.
Yeah. And,
but that's it. I remember that night because they, John, George, and Ringo were recording "I'm the Greatest," and I mean, like rumors were up and down the West Coast that the three Beatles were in the studio together.
right. And that song's great. I mean, if there's a great demo version of John singing it. When you hear John sing it, he almost said, "I can't sing that song," which is surprisingly, but Ringo did it. But everyone's on this. The members of the band are on here. Harry Nilsson's on here.
One of my favorite tracks is George's song, "Sunshine Light for Me," which has the band. David Bromberg and George Harrison.
Richard Perry produced it. You're 16, You're Beautiful in Your Mind, which is that on this one?
That is, with Paul on.
Which these days you'd get arrested for. But Devil Woman, You and Me, Babe is a great song that George Harrison and Mal Evans wrote. Oh My My. And 6 O'Clock with Paul and Linda on the vocals that Paul wrote for him. So it's a real tour de force.
And the cassette version has the longer extended ending to that song.
6 O'Clock, yeah. This is a great record, and Ringo's in really great vocal form. And it was always ironic that up to this point, or the next year after this, I guess 73 and 74, Ringo had the most top 10 singles of any solo Beatle after the breakup initially. Pretty amazing when you think about it. But I'm going with this, the best one. Your turn.
That is a great choice. And I've talked at one of our videos last month. I always pick, this is Time Takes Time.
Good album, but you're wrong.
I'm wrong. Less hits. Well, I think why I think it's better record is that it's more Ringo. All right. So the album Ringo is a great album, but it's held up with the Beatle reunion mythology. So you have all these friends helping him out, and that leads to the aura of the greatness of the record. Whereas
we thought the Beatles would have a reunion at that point. By 1973, it was only 3 years since they broke up. So of course, throughout the 70s, the Beatle rumor, let's get back together.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't, though.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Leave the audience wanting more. I'm glad they never got back together. So that's a good choice.
This great songs. Ringo's sort of a comeback after his alcoholism years. Great pop production by 4 different producers: Peter Asher, Jeff Lynne, Don Was, who's the other one? Phil Ramone.
I like that record. I'm always torn when there's a mishmash of different producers. Like, it doesn't have a feel.
But I think it does hold together as an album.
Okay. All right.
Worst one. There are so many contenders.
The worst record Ringo Starr ever put out. Let's show them at the same time, then we can talk about them. On 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm a bad boy.
Yeah, that's a horrible record. I had pulled that one, and Norman and I have joked about that song for decades now.
It's from promotional use only, ownership reserved by CBS. I think it's time to give it back to CBS. Is
that the one? That TV Ognir Rats TV special, which was the kind of Ringo's version of Prince of Pop?
Oh God, I don't know. Produced by Vinnie Ponce. They're probably coked up their asses. I'm sorry to say it like that, but
I picked this one. This Postcards from Paradise.
Isn't that a song about Liverpool on that piece of shit?
They're also, I was looking at the track listing. I've heard this album, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. I couldn't tell you one thing about one of the songs. This is so absolutely forgettable, bland. It's not that it's bad.
How do you know it's so bad?
It's not that it's bad. It's just there's no reason for it.
If you forget it, how do you know it's so bad?
It is, but that's why it's I was looking at track listings, and there's a lot of looking at that one, and I remember that song, or that song, and or I hate that song, but I remember that song.
Yeah.
I don't remember a damn thing about this album.
I always talk about it of solo records, and
It's
he
a
keeps.
waste of plastic. There's no reason for it. The world is not better. It's not worse for it.
Tell us how you really feel, Mr. Bacon.
The album might as well just not exist, and you wouldn't notice.
Well, you and I talk about this. He does these like reminiscent thing. Oh, Liverpool, A, da da da, yeah. When I was young,
The reference to it don't come easy in all the lyrics.
Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah,
I still think a country record like Buku's of Blues, done now with either, produced by maybe Rick Rubin or Nick Lowe or T-Bone Burnett, where it's rootsy. Nashville or indie players like that, because he loves country music. He, with the Buck Owens songs the Beatles did and all that stuff. He's good at that. The vocal range works for that stuff.
His voice is as good as it's ever been.
Yeah, better than McCartney's now.
I think you're right. He does have a great record in him, but guy's 80 years old. He likes recording in his home with his good friends.
Bill Walsh, yeah.
So he puts these things out every 2 years. Okay, great.
Okay. Now we're going to close out with the bonus round. If this is it's not like a game show, but we decided to each show one album. David might be cheating and show one other second one, which is fine. Of the family members, a family record is it the best one? Probably not, but it's the one maybe where either of us are in the mood for or on our minds right now. So you go first, Mr. Bacon.
I picked McGear.
Very good choice.
Yeah. And this is the deluxe box set that came out last year with bonus tracks. I was lucky enough to get one of the autographed postcards that says Mike McGear.
Tell us who Mike McGear is. The
album came out in 74, I think, mid-70s. It's actually a Wings album. Mike McGear, Paul's younger brother by 18 months, had a bit of a recording career, was in a group called Scaffold with
Roger McGough.
They
just redid a version of Thank You Very Much.
For the COVID thing. Right?
Thank you very much for the Aintrine Iron. Thank you very much.
But they did that. They were sort of a comedy poetry group.
They're like Monty Python musically before Monty Python.
Meets Lawrence Ferlinghetti.
A Scouse group.
So Mike McGear, he used the name McGear rather than McCartney because he wanted like his own little sort of identity. This album, I guess Paul, I don't know how they, so we'll do a record together. So Paul had his band Wings, and Paul wrote or co-wrote all of the songs on it. So it's a Wings album with Mike McCartney singing lead vocal. And it's really a great record.
Really good. There is one a song called Sea Breezes, which is a Roxy Music cover song. Great song. Rainbow Lady was kind of I don't know if it was a hit, but it's very.
I don't know if there's any hits on it.
No, Rainbow Lady there was a
song. Great song. The Casket.
I think it's better than a lot of McCartney records.
Leave It is great single. Right. Really wonderful album.
You thought I was going to pick that, didn't you?
I thought you might have. What did you pick?
Well, I'm picking a Plastic Ono Band record, but a Plastic Ono Band record, and not a lot of people know there was a Plastic Ono Band record. This is Yoko Ono, Plastic Ono Band. And this came out about in the last 5 years. It's produced by Sean. In the band is Sean Lennon. David's confused. David has no idea what I'm fucking talking about.
What is that album?
It is called Between My Head and the Sky. I think there was also a cover with her with a top hat, maybe.
Oh, okay. This is the CD of it.
Yeah. This is the vinyl version. One of the members, one of Sean's old girlfriends from Siba Motto is in it. There's some other indie artists. I think it's a great record. It's the first album that Yoko or anybody put out with the name Plastic Ono Band since her album, I forgot which one in the 70s. The last one that she did under Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band. Now, it's got some, it's out there, like a little bit noisy, like Sonic Youth. It's got the Yoko flourishes. It's got some electronic music, electronic stuff going on, which is really great. It's got a couple of upbeat dance tracks, one very reminiscent of a John Lennon co-authored song with David Bowie, Fame. The song Fame, the Bowie song, was co-written with John, and John sings with Bowie. Is it any wonder? It's got something like that. It's got some, it ends with some beautiful melodic piano kind of music, which is almost like beat poetry, Yoko speaking over it. I think it's a really good record, but David and I are both Yoko fans. Again, not for everybody, but I thought I wanted to show something a little out of the box, a little something different for this. And I think a lot of people don't even know this record exists. So I'm showing it, Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band, Between My Head and the Sky.
Yoko's had a really good run last 5-10 years.
Her stuff is great, and I like that. Sean's kind of producing or working with it, bringing some of the younger things. She's done some things with a couple members of Sonic Youth, Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon, and it's out there stuff. It's not, again, you know how we talk about this stuff is not for everybody. There's a lot of Yoko bashers out there. We're Yoko fans, but we also can make fun of Yoko.
What is that? Yeah, nah.
Hey, we got to have a sense of humor.
If you're listening, keep it up.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our latest Beatle offering, Beatle solo things, and maybe every couple of weeks we're going to do one related and come up with some concepts. If you don't agree, tough. You can write down there. I don't destroy or delete comments unless they're mean-spirited, but I totally get, this is such an opinionated thing.
If we did this tape tomorrow, we might come up with different selections.
Oh, we totally would. We totally would. This was great doing. David was only wrong once or twice of his show. But Mazzy loves you, and thank you, David. I can't jump into your screen. So we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.